Hola a todos, hoy vamos a hablar de los usos de estas tres expresiones, desde, desde hace y hace. So today we are going to discuss the uses of these three expressions, okay? Now, all three of these expressions are used to reference time, but of course they are used differently. So we'll start with desde, and it is worth noting that desde can be used with location and it will have a similar usage, right? Desde can be translated as since or from. It is used to mention when an action started. Okay, so when we want to mention the starting point of an action, we use desde. For example, no hemos comido desde ayer. We have not eaten since yesterday. Okay, so ayer represents the starting point. No fumo desde el año pasado. I have not smoked since last year. Once again, el año pasado represents the starting point of the action. So desde must be followed by a specific time, by specific time. It could be a specific day, it could be a date, or what have you. But desde is used with, desde is used to give us the starting point of an action. As you see, in this example, we have the present perfect. And in this example, we have the present, right? So, yeah. So if we were to ask the question, we would formulate it like, ¿desde cuándo has dejado de fumar? Since when have you stopped smoking? Right? Because remember, desde is used with specific points in time. So to answer that question, I would say, he dejado de fumar desde la semana pasada. I have stopped smoking since last week. Right? So just remember, when it comes to desde, we use it with a specific point in time, whether that be a date or a day, etc. Right? Desde hace. So this can be translated as for. It is used to talk about the duration of an action which started in the past but continues in the present. So you know, based on that description, we definitely will use the present perfect, because that is what the present perfect is used to do. To talk about actions that started in the past but continues to affect the present. Right? So actions that started in the past but continue to affect the present, right? So Susana ha estado viviendo en Madrid desde hace 5 años. Susana has been living in Madrid for 5 years. So it means that 5 years, okay, this represents the quantity of time that she has spent in Madrid, but she is still living in Madrid. It is ongoing, right? So it actually started 5 years ago and continues today. So we use desde hace to express that. Another example, Juan no la ve desde hace 2 días. Juan has not seen her for 2 days. Okay, so 2 days, that's when it started, 2 days ago, but it continues in the present. So we use desde hace. It means that he still has not seen her, right? And you see, we use the present tense here. So with desde hace, we can use the present perfect or the present tense. And when we use the present tense, it would have the same translation as the present perfect. You will not say Juan does not see her for 2 days. No, no, no. Has not seen her, because it is an event that started in the past but continues in the present. Okay? So Juan no la ve desde hace 2 días. Yep. So anytime we want to talk about an event which started in the past but continues in the present, we use desde hace. Therefore, desde hace is going to be followed by a quantity of time. So we have moved from a specific point in time to a quantity of time. 2 días, una semana, un año, doesn't matter. But it must be followed by a quantity of time, because this expresses duration. Okay? And hace. Hace can be translated as ago, right? It is used to mention the amount of time that has passed since an action ended. So with this usage, we are going to use the preterite because we're talking about the amount of time that has passed since an action ended. Okay? Right. For example, yo vi a Carmen hace una semana. I saw Carmen 1 week ago. So 1 week represents the amount of time that has passed since I saw Carmen. You see? So hace is going to be followed, is also going to be followed by a quantity of time. But that quantity of time represents the amount of time that has passed since the action ended. Right? So how much time has passed since I saw Carmen? 1 week. So I saw Carmen 1 week ago, right? I could switch the order and say, hace una semana yo vi a Carmen. Perdón. Hace una semana yo vi a Carmen. Okay. Otro ejemplo. Los niños se fueron hace un tiempo. The children left a while ago. Hace un tiempo, los niños se fueron. So, un tiempo would be a while. So that represents the amount of time that has passed since the children left, right? So with this usage, we always use the preterite because we're talking about an action that has ended, right? And whatever follows hace will be the amount of time that has passed since that action ended, right? Muy bien. But fíjense, hace can be used in the present tense, but it must follow this structure. This is used when an action started in the past but continues in the present. Right. So we say hace followed by the amount of time, followed by que, and the verb in the present tense. And this would be used the same way. This would be used in the same manner as desde hace, because desde hace is used like this to talk about actions that started in the past but continues in the present, right? So, hace un año que vivimos en Barbados. We have lived in Barbados for 1 year. That's right. So you see the structure. We have hace followed by the amount of time, un año, que, and then the verb in the present tense, vivimos, right? Now, if I were to use desde hace, I would say, vivimos en Barbados desde hace un año. We have lived in Barbados for 1 year. It would be the same thing as this. But it is worth noting that this structure is not very common, right? If we wanted to express that, we would use desde hace. It would be more common to use desde hace. Vivimos en Barbados desde hace un año. that represents the quantity of time. But if we want to use hace like this, we have to use this structure to represent the, or to convey the amount of time that an action has been going on for, an action which started in the past but continues in the present. We would use this structure. But it is more commonplace to use desde hace that way. Right? That's right. I actually forgot to mention something when I was talking about desde. If we want to, we use desde to talk about a specific point in time, right? The specific point or the specific time at which an event started, right? But if we want to mention that an action basically started when another action, because of another action, we use desde que. For example, desde que llegamos a Madrid, no he podido dormir. Since we have arrived in Madrid, since we arrived in Madrid, my bad. Since we arrived in Madrid, I have not been able to sleep. Desde que llegamos a Madrid, no he podido dormir. So, the desde que, the action that was mentioned at the start, that action represents the starting point. So I have not been able to sleep since we arrived in Madrid. So it's the same thing as this. The only difference is that we're using a verb, right? So the starting point of the second part, which is going to be the fact that I cannot sleep, that the starting point of that would have been our arrival in Madrid. But I chose a verb to express it. I chose to use a verb to express it. Desde que llegamos, since we arrived. So we use the past tense there. I just wanted to mention that. That's something that I forgot to mention when I was talking about desde. Okay. So desde represents the starting point of an action. If we want to mention the starting point of one action which resulted in another action, as I would have mentioned earlier, we use desde que, right? But desde has to be followed by a specific point in time, and desde que will be followed by an action in the past tense, right? Desde hace will be used to talk about the duration of an action. So an action which started in the past but continues in the present. Hace can be used for two purposes. The first purpose is going to be to mention the amount of time that has passed since an action ended. And the other usage is going to be to talk about the duration of an action which started in the past but continues in the present. So in the second context, hace is used just like this, the hace. But like I said, if you use hace like that, it has to follow this structure, and it is not very common. We would more use desde hace to express this usage. ¿Ok? ¿Vale? Ahora mismo vamos a tomar un examen. Okay, so we move on to the quiz. And as you would have seen, we did 3 expressions. Well, 4 if you include desde que. So you have to place those expressions in the spaces below according to the context, right? So, 1. Fui a Barcelona 2 años. Fui a Barcelona 2 años. So, what is 2 años? 2 años represents the quantity of time. So, when we're talking about quantity of time, and it's the past tense, okay? So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the amount of time that has passed since that action ended. So, I am no longer in Barcelona. I'm no longer in Barcelona, so fui a Barcelona hace 2 años. That's right. Hace 2 años. Okay? I went to Barcelona 2 years ago. That's right. 2. Hemos estado estudiando francés 3 días. So once again, we have a quantity of time. But look at the tense we have utilized. We have used the present perfect continuous. So this is an action that continues in the present. 3 días. Therefore, we use desde hace. Right, desde hace. We have been studying French for 3 days. So we started 3 days ago, but we are continuing to study it. Okay? So desde hace. 3. Roberto no habla el accidente. So el accidente, that represents a specific event, which could also be seen as a specific point in time. So, desde. Desde. Roberto has not spoken since the accident. 4. Blank. Fracasé ese examen. He estado estudiando a diario. We have a verb here, so you know obviously we need desde que. Desde que. So that is the first event. This is the event. Fracasé. Since I failed that exam, I have been studying daily. So this is the starting point. Since I failed that exam, I have been studying daily. And 5. Nuestra maestra se jubiló un año. So, un año is a quantity of time, past tense. So, it represents the amount of time that has passed since she retired, right? Because jubilarse means to retire. So, hace un año. Our teacher retired 1 year ago. Right? Yes. Okay. So this brings us to the end of this lesson. Espero que les haya gustado el video. Muchas gracias por ver y nos vemos.